Right. Right. But let's move on to the second Rand clip here where he's talking some foreign policy.
President Trump, with the disastrous record of Joe Biden, who has consistently called for more war. Joe Biden voted for the Iraq War, which President Trump has long called the worst geopolitical mistake of our generation. I fear Biden will choose war again. He supported the war in Serbia, Syria, Libya. Joe Biden will continue to spill our blood and treasure. President Trump will bring our heroes home. If you hate war like I hate war, if you want us to quit sending $50 billion every year to Afghanistan to build their roads and bridges instead of building them here at home, you need to support President Trump for another term. So to
we just finished up the Rand clip there. I know we had a little technical snag, but I think we're back on. So Will, we had Rand talk about Trump's kind of foreign policy there, and I think we'll both agree that he was way too kind to Trump in a lot of ways. But nonetheless, I thought it was a message that we are kind of happy to hear, right? Rand really focusing on, I mean, he says, I hate war. So that's definitely something to be said at a Republican convention, and says that Donald Trump doesn't like war either, and so I saw a lot of positives in that. But what was your takeaway?
Yeah, I mean, here Rand is like basically trying to sell Donald Trump as the anti-war candidate of this race. And I mean, like, at least looking at Biden's record, and some few other things, it's not totally clear that he's wrong. Like it is. It's a little rich to try to say that Trump, after all we've seen his time in administration, that he's actually an anti-war candidate. But I think at least like comparatively compared to Biden, like, it's not so clear that Rand is wrong. I mean, Biden has been forward with a lot of these wars and interventions. And Trump has started to wind down a few of those, Afghanistan in particular. So that is certainly true. And, but another thing to keep in mind, though, is Trump has escalated plenty, like as we've talked about on Foreign Policy Focus so much. So many of the things he's escalated in Somalia and Yemen and elsewhere. And some of the things he said he'd do, he hasn't done, like withdrawing troops from Syria. So it's not totally clear that Trump's a very good anti-war candidate, just maybe comparatively, he kind of is a little better than Biden on this question, or maybe. On the question of Iran, it's not totally clear. Like Biden very well could be better on Trump in terms of like the Iran deal and stuff. The Iran deal was part of Obama's legacy, and that's something that Biden constantly tries to attach himself to. And so Biden might be better on that question. And I will say too, it's a little gross. Like I think you kind of touched on this earlier. It's a little gross seeing Rand shilling just like so hard for Trump and saying like, really campaigning for him. But I think it is true that he doesn't want to burn his bridges with the Trump administration, and he's probably calculating. I think Dave Smith made a point on his show recently. He's probably calculating that a Donald Trump administration, Rand Paul is going to have way more sway with that than a Biden administration. That he's not, like, I don't really see Biden and Rand going golfing together or something, which he has done that with Trump. And so I can see why Rand doesn't why he's trying to, stay in Trump's good graces in case he does win here and he can continue to have some influence in the administration.
Yeah, no, I mean, in some ways it really does make sense. It just seems over the top, especially when he had so little time to talk, to say you have to support the president. You need to support the president if you want to end wars. I mean, I get it if you got to say it once, right? Like that's like the deal. You get 4 minutes to talk. You had to say, I'm going to support Trump twice. But he says, I think 5 times in all of this, which is obnoxious. So it was a lot to hear, but I think he makes good points when he's actually talking substance. Joe Biden supports wars, although I felt like, I guess if he had more than 4 minutes to talk, maybe he could give him some more nuance to the fact that Joe Biden supported Libya. I think Iraq or, other things would have been a better example. I mean, he did go along with it. He was vice president. He could have quit, but I don't think it's right to characterize him as supporting it. So that, that was something that stood out. Another thing that, I caught my eye just, listening to this, and why I think Rand Paul, really made if he believes that Donald Trump is planning on any wars, why he's just so wrong about it. In this article from Jason Ditz at antiwar.com, titled Trump or Biden, Venezuela's opposition expects support. And it just says Juan Guaido, who's this random coup president in Venezuela who nobody really supports, expects to get support from either Biden or Trump. In the coming election, we're going to keep up this regime change effort that's been so harmful to the Venezuelan people, the sanctions there. There's some estimates, 40,000. I think a UN expert said now 100,000 people possibly dead from the U.S. sanctions on Venezuela. And look, Biden's totally for it. In fact, when Bolton's book came out and it was that Trump was wavering on supporting Guaido or not, Biden's, at least whoever runs his Twitter account, because I don't even know if he has the password, but whoever runs his Twitter account was out there tweeting that, hey, Trump needs to be tougher on this issue. And, we would be in our administration. You get the same rhetoric about China, where Donald Trump is an insane hawk. The lunatics in his administration, like Pompeo, formerly Bolton, like influencers of the party, like Steve Bannon, are absolutely nuts about China. I've had Dave DeCamp on Foreign Policy Focus to talk about it quite a few times, just how rabid they are about this issue. And Biden's criticism is Donald Trump's been too easy on the Chinese Communist Party. So, there's not much better to expect with Biden. Now, Rand Paul in there points out Afghanistan in particular and Iraq, which are the two wars that we've had some news about recently. And it seems like Donald Trump is at least moving towards getting rid of troops versus adding them. I mean, I feel really tentative saying that, but I don't know. Will, I'll kind of let you jump in and add a little something here about what you think are like the prospects that Rand Paul would in some ways get his way and be able to help move Trump into getting out of these wars for good.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, we could. I think this might even be a good segue into because I think we have a story here we wanted to talk about Iraq.